Alright, we're gonna be working on sign. This is a live machine on Hack the Box, so I will refrain from giving out too much information. So let us start with the machine information. So right away they're gonna give us credentials for the following account that we can be used to access the MySSQL service. The principal is gonna be Scott, and here's his password. So that's great. We already given credentials to a service. Let's copy the IP, jump into a terminal, and the first thing I like to do is I'm gonna make myself root, and the second thing is I'm going to create a directory so we can cd into it. Let's name it as like the machine sign, cd into sign, and then you can clear the terminal. And the second thing I like to do is just do a quick simple nmap scan. Now that that's running, that's going to take a little bit to run. So let's jump into the let's learn a little bit about this protocol. So this protocol is not to be confused with the SQL service that run on 3306, I believe. This is for Microsoft, so this is going to be your Microsoft SQL service. Typically runs on port 1433, so we're going to find that out in a second. And it does use the TTS protocol. This is just how the server, the SQL server, communicates to the client using the tabular data stream. So this, if you want to think about this how if you communicate with someone on the phone, you're going to be using this data stream, which is going to be the standard for this protocol. Now, for the authentication methods, it's integrated with three NTLM, Kerberos, or the local SQL. For the NTLM, it's gonna be based on challenge response protocol. So basically, you're gonna send your username to the server. The server is going to return a random challenge, and then based on your password, it's going to compute a response. And if your password matches the or matches the random challenge, if it cracks that random challenge, it's going to let you in. Now the the Kerberos is going to be based on tickets. This is going to be based on your TGS and TGTs. So basically, in a nutshell, you're gonna be required to have a ticket granted service. A ticket granted ticket, which is gonna be TGT. And then with that in hand, you're gonna be able to request a TGS, which is gonna be ticket granted services for any service. In this case, it's gonna be for the protocol MySQL in Microsoft. And then for the local authentication, you're gonna be sending your username and password to the local database. And one thing to keep in mind is if you're able to log in this way, just keep in mind that this is gonna be only to the local server, to the local database, and it's not going to be for Active Directory. So meaning if this credential is able to log into the database with the credentials that are given, more than likely the user only exists in the database and not in Active Directory if the machine it's joined to a domain controller. So let's jump back to the terminal and see if our nmap has finished. And it has. So again, 1433, that's the standard for this protocol to run, and remember is using the TDS data stream protocol for communication. So the next thing I like to do is I want to know more information about the machine, about this about the machine that is mapped to this IP. So I'm going to be using netexec, and now that I know that MySQL is running, I can just use MySQL to ask about information about the machine. So we can do that. Now it's going to query the machine. It's going to give us the Windows Server 2019. So this IP, it's going to be it's that. So this is the machine name, is DC01, and then it seems that this machine is joined to a domain controller called Sign Hack the Box. So with this little bit of information that we have, is it seems that if there is a database running, it must be running in this computer. So what it seems like is that we might have to get access to this database and then jump or escalate our privileges to take over the machine, to take over this challenge to the domain controller, which is going to be sign.hackthebox. So in this case, the fully qualified domain name is going to be DC sign hack the box. So let's map that into our exe host. Let's add a command like hack the box, paste your IP and the machine name that we know, it's called hack the DC01, and then your domain is gonna be sign hack the box, and then you can put something here so we can be easy to create the IP. So with that in mind, let's do getting host. I like to do this command just to make sure that we have saved our work. Let's grep it for sign, and here it is. So now we can use this, and it's going to be the same as the IP. So we can ping it once. In fact, it should work because we have already used nmap. So 1 packet sent, 0 packets lost, and the time to live is 127. If you remember, Windows is 128, so that matches our expectation. Matches that in fact this is a Windows machine that is joined to the domain controller name sign the hack the box. So let's recap a little bit before we jump into our notes. So we have credentials for the Microsoft SQL service. Now we don't know if this service is running in the DC01 machine that is joined to Active Directory, or if the service is running only on one machine or on both. So what I like to do next is authenticate to the IP address, which is mapped to the DC01, and we're gonna be using, since we're using Linux, we're going to be focusing on two possible commands that we can use. One is gonna be netexec with the protocol mssql, and the other one is gonna be your in-packet toolkit of mssqlclient.py. Both commands are going to use the tabular database stream, so that's good because that covers the standard protocol here. And both of these tools are going to able to negotiate the encryption method, which is going to be encryption transport layer security, TLS for short. So what this is in a nutshell, this is like it sounds for, is going to be for encrypted. So when we're going to be talking in the tabular streamline, we need something to encrypt our communication. So luckily enough, both tools will be able to negotiate this layer of protection. So what this protection is going to give us is going to make it hard for other people to read our traffic, and it's going to be hard for people to tamper our data. So that's good. So how does this happen? This happens either before or during the login authentication phase, right? So it's going to have a handshake, sort of like nmap. Once you have negotiated the handshake and it's completed, so moving forward, your entire communication is going to be encrypted, right? So that's good. So that out of the way, let's look at the switches of each tool. For example, if you want to use netexec MySQL, if you use it without any flags, it first is going to try to authenticate those credentials via Windows or in quote unquote NTLM or Kerberos, If it fails, it should give you like an error or a suggestion to say, hey, this user might exist in the domain on the Active Directory, but it might be not trusted. So why don't you go ahead and use dash dash local auth and to check if you can authenticate via SQL. And that's what we're going to be doing next. And if you like to use MySQL client, it's basically the same, but if you don't pass any flags, it's going to omit the Windows out, and it's going to go straight to the local authentication SQL login. If you do pass Windows out, it's going to be vice versa. It's going to ignore the SQL login. It's going to jump straight only to Windows. So before we test our credentials, which tool would you best work best for you? And that becomes more of a personal option for you, because it becomes, if you narrow down, it becomes more of a security aspect. Let me explain a little bit why. So NetExec is more for automation, where it does not spin an interactive shell. mssqlclient.py is going to spin an interactive shell, which is going to be the encryption protocol is going to happen right there and there as you send commands, whereas NetExec is going to it's a tool that is going to be wrapped. The authentication is going to be based on the tools libraries, so it's going to be happening on the back end. If I can give you an example of these two tools, it would be if you're if you have bodyguards, right? And you want to go into a store, and you're gonna tell your bodyguards, hey, just wait for me at the entrance, and I'm gonna go inside the store and just be automating stuff. I'm just gonna be walking around the shelves. You're still gonna know that you have that encryption layer at the end, right? In this case, at the library wise of the tool. Therefore, it's not going to spin any interactive shelf. So, with the same analogy, if you want to use MySQL.client.py, those same bodyguards are going to not leave you. They're going to follow you inside the store and going to be walking with you all the time. So your encryption is going to happen all the time, not just at the back end. So that's basically more. You're going to have more control over the encrypted data. You are going to be able to specify flags of the encryption method. So it really depends on what you want to work. If you for your work scenario, if you're just working on hack the box machines, you don't really care about encryption data because there's no one else sniffing data. So if you just want to automate stuff, you can definitely choose NetExec. So that's what we're going to be using, NetExec. So let's look at the authentication methods. Again, this is just explain your different flags for your different authentication protocols. So if you want to use NetExec without any flags, again, it's just going to be NTLM, and then it's going to default by SQL. Let's use that. So we just need to pass NetExec tool IP, username, and password. So we go NetExec, SMB, QL, IP. So I believe you just find sign if you want. Username is going to be Scott. And the password is let's just copy the entire data here. I think it copied it. It did. Okay. Remember, it's fallen is NTLM first. Login fail. So it failed during the NTLM phase. So now it's going to suggest, is this an untrusted domain or it cannot be used? Please try again without the with or without the local out. So let's try with forcing this as SQL login only. So there you go. So Scott's credentials are valid only local to the local database SQL. So let's pause this. Let's continue on the next video with the post out, so we can jump in different commands and see what Scott can do inside the database. Thank you.